So fortunate to go through this issue. We are going to start today with this introduction as well as the invocation of Sri Isopanishad. So let's begin. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskrityam
Narayanam Namaskrityam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswati Vyasam
Tato Jayamudiraye
Tato Jayam Udiraye
Prayeshu Abhadreshu
Nastaprayeshu Avadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Uttama Sloke
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtigim
Bhaktiri Bhavati Naishtikim
Om Nagyanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilidam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stabidam Yena Bhudale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Sapadandigam Vandeham Sri Gurum Sri Yudapadakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajadam Sahagana Raghunathanidam Tam Sajivam Sadvaidam Savadudam Parijana Sahidam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalidam Sri Vishaghanidamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dhinabandhu Jagatpade Gopesha Gopika Kanda Radha Kanda Namostude Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhasya Kripa Sindhubhye Vacha Padidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktum Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinamidhidamastu Ma Vidushavahai Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you so much for joining today. So today we are going to start a new book which is called Sri Isopanishad. As you can see that the meaning of Isopanishad is that one brings that closer to Krishna. So we will see how we can cover. Today we'll cover the introduction and the invocations. So then go to the verses one by one each day. So we are very fortunate. Srila Prabhupada translated Isopanishad into English. It's a great achievement that we can understand the Vedic knowledge as it is. So there may be a different interpretation can be there, but Srila Prabhupada translated this Vedic knowledge, Upanishad, Sri Isopanishad as it is. It's a great fortune, and we are very much indebted to Srila Prabhupada, and let's all pray together. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimade Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Dinamine Namaste Saraswata Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane. We are just following the words of Srila Prabhupada, which is mentioned in the introduction, the preface, as well as the invocation. So Srila Prabhupada revealed this. Isopanishad means the knowledge that brings one nearer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. A devotee, it is very important to understand this transcendental knowledge. So we know that the Supreme Lord given us the Veda. Veda means knowledge. Knowledge, what knowledge? The transcendental knowledge, not the mundane knowledge. The Veda comes from the root word called Vid. Vid means knowledge. And it is mentioned that before the creation of this entire cosmic world, first there is a sound, Shabda. That sound is the breath of the Lord. The breath of the Lord is that manifested in the form of sound that then manifested as the form of Veda, the knowledge. That's where in the beginning of creation, even just in the beginning of this millennium of the Brahma manifested from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. When Brahma came on the lotus, it was completely dark everywhere. Brahma bewildered what to do. So Brahma was not knowing what to do, then going up and down on the stem of the lotus, went down. In so many years, tried to go down, but couldn't reach where he comes from. He couldn't understand. He went up all the way again to the back to the petals of the lotus, and then went up and up. Couldn't understand. So seeing this, there was a sound initially. That sound which was manifested, and Brahma could understand that. Yes. Brahma then did penance. What is that? Sound manifested to the Brahma is called Tapa. Do the penance. For 1 million years of celestial years, Brahma did that penance. Just because of that knowledge which Tapa, the knowledge which came out, and Brahma took that knowledge in the heart and did that penance, then Supreme Lord manifested in the heart of Brahma first. So by the penance, Brahmadev could understand and realize that Supreme Lord. So the reason I mentioned, one who understands this Veda, the Vedic knowledge, so that we can realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's the importance of the Veda. That's why Veda is introduced first, so that everybody can understand the source of everything. So then after that, the Supreme Personality of Godhead personally manifested before Brahma and shook hands with the Brahma. And then Brahma played, the Supreme Lord came and played the flute on his lotus mouth. The transcendental knowledge, the breath of Krishna in the form of the Vedas, and the Gayatri in the form of Gayatri or the Vedic knowledge entered into the ears of Brahma. That's where then the Vedic knowledge also manifests. That's why in the Bhagavatam it is mentioned that Tene Brahma Hrude Adi Gaviye Muhyandiya Suryaha. Tene Brahma Hrudaye. So initially it is imparted unto the heart of Brahmaji. This is the transcendental knowledge or called Veda. So Vedas manifested from the Supreme Lord. Vedas manifested from the spiritual world, from the Lord Krishna. So this is the way, the Vedic knowledge, which is aprameya. Aprameya means which we cannot define. Prameya means one we can. Aprameya, that means one which we cannot give material or mundane interpretations for that. So Vedic knowledge is, Veda is the complete knowledge. Veda is the absolute truth, or Vedic knowledge is the absolute truth. So then we can see that in so many places in the introduction, Srila Prabhupada reveals that, see, there are different ways that we can understand the knowledge. But then we need to think whether we are understanding and getting this knowledge from or we are getting the right knowledge. So Srila Prabhupada says that there are three ways one can perceive the knowledge. One is called Pratyaksha Pramana, another is called Anumana Pramana, and then is called Shabda Pramana. See, Pramana means the authority or the source of knowledge, Praman. Something we say that, when we document something like a property documentation or some likhita, some kinds of declaration, we say it is Praman. So like that, so something that which gives some concrete proof or some concrete, evidences, we say that's Praman. So like that, three ways we can understand this. Srila Prabhupada says one is Pratyaksha Praman. Pratyaksha Praman means whatever we see is that, okay, that is true, or we take it as Pratyaksha Praman. We see a sun globe. So when we see a sun globe, we know that, yes, the sun globe is there, he is round and like that. But Srila Prabhupada says, and as per that, if you go deep and analyze this, but this Pratyaksha Praman also not complete. It's not a complete understanding. Because of, Srila Prabhupada give an example, we have 4 defects. When we have 4 defects, then whatever we see is also, we cannot take it completely as it is an absolute truth. Like just for an example, when one sees the sun globe. So when you look at that, it's just like a small disk. So if you are just seeing directly, okay, sun, if you say, oh, sun is just like a small disk. It's true, in my eyes, it is like a small disk. But is that the truth? No, it is not that the truth. But when one goes very near to the sun, it is almost 200 times bigger than the size of the earth. So, but when we see it, we saw it as just a disk. So like that, we have defects. What are the defects? We have imperfect senses. So when we see and goes through the desert, sometimes on the road, sometimes on there we see a water. This is also we see with our eyes. When we see with our eyes, there are water on the land, on a desert. But when we go nearby, there is no water. So because we have imperfect senses, or there is an optical illusion, whatever we see cannot be taken as a complete truth. So Srila Prabhupada says that since we have 4 defects, what are the 4 defects? One is called imperfect senses. Then the second one is called committing mistakes. We are all prone to commit mistakes. We are all bound to do the mistakes. So many times we make mistakes, even though we say everything is, but our constitution is that some way or other we commit mistakes. Imperfect senses. Then another is known as the cheating propensity. So even though we are in this world, sometimes we have this propensity of cheating in the sense that we may say this one, that one, according to the time, place, and circumstances. We all have certain limitations. So we have this. And then there is also being illusioned. Sometimes we take, when we come into the, nighttime and we walk, and we see some ropes are on the road. Immediately we saw, we think that it's a snake. But actually it is a rope. So like that, Srila Prabhupada gives an example of, like, we think that this body is everything. We think that this nature is everything. This what we see is everything. There is nothing beyond, like scientists and all these people say, oh, nothing is beyond this. No life beyond this earth. Everything is just a dump of matter. So this is happening because of your illusion. We are not coming to the complete understanding that this is not everything. But people think that, oh, this body is everything, nothing beyond this body. So then eat, sleep, mate, and defend is my whole purpose of my life. This is called illusion. This is called illusory energy. So these four defects are there. When we four defects are there, then when we go with the pratyaksha pramana, whatever we see is the truth, then we cannot take it completely. So then we will be misguided. As is mentioned that when we look at some distance, we see water on the desert, or when we look at the sea, there fire can be seen in the water. So, but it is just because of an illusion, because of optical illusion, it's not the truth. So like that, we cannot take pratyaksha praman as a complete truth. Then there is also known as another way of understanding or perceiving the knowledge is anumana praman. Anuman means comparison. So when we say today is sunny, so that we can say, okay, anuman, tomorrow may be sunny. It's a maybe anuman. Water is there in the desert. Okay, here I can see the water on the earth. So then I go some other places and dig over there. My anuman is that, okay, water should be there, but not necessarily water will be there. So like that, oh, this knowledge, okay, only this empirical or scientific knowledge is correct. Then we are taking this anuman, sankalpa, or this comparison, oh, this is correct, nothing else is. Or this is right, so that because of that, it should be right, like that. We know that every planet is rotating, floating in this universe. Then if it takes that anuman, every other planet should float. But when it goes to the real,
Bambu, ये घर का अभी कैसे करने का है? You'll have to. You said on the weekdays you'll.
Can we put on
I
mute?
told you ना yesterday ये paintings and your wall hangings निकालने हैं. Shoe closet, you take your shoes and.
Can we put on mute, please? Okay. So okay, so yeah, when it comes to the anuman praman, so we are taking some kind of assuming things. This happens because of this, so it will happen. So that is also incomplete. We cannot take it as a complete, it's incomplete. Then we come to the Shabda Praman. Shabda Praman means from the direct source, Shabda from the words, from the right authority. So Srila Prabhupada gives an example, a beautiful example of that. Suppose a child wanted to know who is his father. So in order to understand who is his father, the right source of that is his mother or her mother. The child will go and ask to her mother or his mother that, who is my father? Then mother can tell who is rightly and authoritatively. Nobody else can say that. Isn't it? Srila Prabhupada gives that. So when some mother gives that authoritatively, that answer that this is the so-and-so person is your father, then that is quite complete. Because of the mother only knows that who is the real father. So Srila Prabhupada gives that this example because of Shabda Praman. When we hear from the right source, right authority, then that is complete. So that's why this Veda, which is mentioned that this is called Shabda Praman. Veda is also known as Shruti. Shruti means which we heard, which one can hear. So when we hear from the right authority, then we can understand that that is complete. So Srila Prabhupada gave an example of, like just for an example, like cow dung. According to the mundane knowledge, cow dung is a stool. So as per the also in the other ways that if somebody touches the stool, he has to be purified. He has to clean himself. But on the other hand, Veda reveals that the cow dung is pure And one can use this to purify the atmosphere, purify the place. And even in fact, Srila Prabhupada gave an example, one doctor in Calcutta, to understand, to prove this, whether cow dung is pure or not. So he did an experiment, and many scientists did that experiment. They found out that the cow dung is one of the very antiseptic, and cow dung is very pure, and it can be used as an antiseptic. It can be used as to purifier. There is no contamination at all in the cow dung. So, but cow dung mentioned that this very pure in the Veda. So Srila Prabhupada gave this an example of that. If one who hears this from the right source, then that is correct. We can take it as a complete knowledge. So like that, Srila Prabhupada gave an example. So we hear from the right source. So Srila Prabhupada gave this knowledge to us. So we can completely, confidently take this, that because of Srila Prabhupada has seen this truth. Srila Prabhupada received this knowledge from Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj received this transcendental knowledge from the Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. And Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj received this knowledge from Bhakti Vinod Thakur. And Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur also received this knowledge from Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. So this goes all the way up to Krishna. And Krishna reveals this one in the Bhagavad Gita also. Evam parambara praptam imam rajashayo vidum sakalena mahima yogo nashta parandabaha. Krishna was telling Arjuna, 120 million years ago, I imparted this Vedic knowledge. Krishna is using this word Vedic knowledge. And I imparted this Vedic knowledge unto the sun god Vivaswan. Sun god Vivaswan instructed to Manu. Manu instructed this to Ishwaku. But in due course of time, this transcendental knowledge lost in the disciplic succession. Yoko nashta parandapaha. So I am revealing this transcendental knowledge, this Vedic knowledge again unto you, to Arjuna. So when we hear from the right authority, when we hear from the right source, and as per the scripture, as per the acharyas, then that is a complete knowledge. That is called Shabda Praman. So Veda is called Shabda Praman. So we can completely consider the Veda is the right source, right authority of the knowledge. That's why the Veda is known as the last word of the truth. So what Vedic knowledge, what Vedic text reveals to that, that is the complete and absolute knowledge. So then that Veda, then initially it came from the Supreme Lord to Sri Krishna to Brahmadev, Brahmadev to Naradadev, Naradadev to Vyasadev. Then Vyasadev, for the convenience and seeing that the Kali Yuga is coming down, divided this transcendental knowledge, this Vedic knowledge or absolute truth, divided into four, that is called Rigved, Yajurved, Samaved, and Atharvaved. So that people can easily, otherwise Veda is so vast. Initially, before Veda Vyas put down, everything was orally, orally then transferred to one person to another. So in those days, because of the purity, even we hear the Veda, the complete one Guru speaks to the disciple could completely understand and grasp the entire the Vedic knowledge. Then that disciple again became a guru and then imparted this knowledge to the disciples. So it was disciplic succession. Evam parambara praptam. But when it comes to the Kali Yuga, Vyasadeva then put down and divided this so that it's convenient for everybody, because of Vyasadeva understood that Kali Yuga is coming down with the short memory and short life, and it's very difficult, maybe 1, 2, then it may again lose this. So put down and divided into 4 other sections of it. Then the same Vyasadeva, then understanding that the people in generally Kali Yuga is short-memored, short-intelligent, so then concluded this Veda in the form of called Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta Sutra, that means the essence of entire Veda. So then Veda Vyas compiled again this Vedic knowledge into Upanishads. Upanishad means, Nishad means one who sit near or one who get closer. Nishad. Sorry, Upa means one who sit closer or one who very closely connected or associated. That's called Upa. Nishad means one who sit. Sit means Nishad, Upanishad. One who sit or one who gets closer to the Supreme or Upanishad. That's what is the meaning of this. One can get very closer to the Supreme is called Upanishads. Then when you say Ishopanishad, Isha means the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Ishopanishad means one can get closer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Isha means the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna. So Srila Vedavyas compiled Vedanta Sutra and Vedavyas compiled this Upanishad. There are 108 Upanishads. But then still, Srila Vyasadeva become not happy. She was not happy enough, even though I compiled all this. Srila Vyasadeva was not happy enough to, that means feeling something missing. Naradev appeared before Vyasadeva and mentioned, even though you compiled Vedanta Sutra, you compiled, but you didn't explain or glorified enough that the essence of Veda enough in your text. Essence of your Veda. The essence of the Veda is nothing but that person, that Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Then that is the way again compiled that the essence of all the Veda in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. That's what is we can. So, as is mentioned that Vedescha Sarvam Aham Eva Vedyo. Vedescha Sarvam Aham Eva Vedyo. The complete understanding, the essence or the last word of the Veda is to understand Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's why Srila Prabhupada brought this Ishopanishads to us to understand more about the Supreme Personality of Godhead so that we can get closer to Krishna. So this is the way that we should understand. So Veda is the complete knowledge. Veda means complete knowledge. This is not only material, it is a transcendental spiritual knowledge. So then we come to this understanding, there are difference between the liberated soul and the conditioned soul. The liberated soul, that one who understands this knowledge and apply in their life, then this way we can liberate. So this knowledge is meant to liberate ourselves. So Vedic knowledge, Krishna imparted this to first living entity Brahma to liberate ourselves. Even to liberate Brahma. That's why Brahma got this transcendental knowledge from Supreme Lord. Because of that devotion Brahma exhibited to the Supreme Lord, Brahma received this transcendental knowledge. That's the Vedic knowledge. And then that's why it's imparted to Brahma, and disciplic succession came to us, and Srila Prabhupada imparted this Vedic knowledge to us. Bhagavad Gita is the Vedic knowledge. Srimad Bhagavatam is the Vedic knowledge. Upanishads are the Vedic knowledge. Vedanta Sutra are the Vedic knowledges. So all these are transcendental knowledge which emanates from the mouth of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So then only by this knowledge, transcendental knowledge, then one can engage, one can realize and understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When one realizes and understands and perceives the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then one can then liberate himself from this material world. Material world is considered as Ashashwadam and Dukhalayam. Ashashwadam, it is temporary. And Dukhalayam is full of misery. Everybody is going through this Mrityu, Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. Everybody is going through that. Everybody is also some extent suffering in this world. So then we come to the first invocation of this prayers. The Ishopanishad, Srila Prabhupada start with the invocation. And I would humbly request everybody unmute, and then we can repeat after me, and everybody please try to recite this beautiful, beautiful words of the Upanishads. And the Srila Prabhupada put this as an invocation for this Ishopanishad. Everybody please. Om Purnat Purnamidam.
Om Purnamidam
Om Purnam Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avashishyate Om Purnam Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avashishyate Om Purnamadha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avashishyate. Synonyms. Please repeat after me. Om,
Om.
the complete whole.
The complete whole.
Purnam,
Purnam.
perfectly complete.
Perfectly complete.
Adaha,
Adaha.
that.
That.
Purnam,
Purnam.
perfectly complete.
Perfectly complete.
Idam,
Idam.
this phenomenal world.
This phenomenal
world.
Purnat,
Purnam.
from the all perfect.
From the
From all the perfect.
Purnam,
Purnam.
complete unit.
Complete unit.
unit.
Udachyade,
Udachyate.
he is produced.
Produced.
Purnasya,
Purnasya.
of the complete whole.
Of the
Of the complete whole.
Purnam,
Purnam.
completely.
Completely.
All.
whole.
Adhaya,
Adaya.
having been taken away.
Having been taken away.
Purnam,
Purnam.
a complete balance.
The complete balance.
Eva,
Eva.
even.
Even.
Avashishyade,
Avashishyate.
is remaining.
Is remaining.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai.
Please repeat after me. Translation. The personality of Godhead is
The personality of the Godhead is
perfect and complete.
perfect and complete.
And because He is completely perfect,
And because he is completely perfect,
all emanations from Him,
all emanations from him,
such as this phenomenal world,
such as this phenomenal world,
are perfectly equipped
are perfectly equipped
as complete alls.
as complete wholes.
Whatever is produced of the complete whole
Whatever
is produced of the complete whole
is also complete in itself,
is also
completely in himself,
because He is the complete whole.
because he is the complete whole.
Even though so many complete units
Even though so many complete units
emanates from Him,
emanates from him,
He remains the complete balance.
he remains the complete balance.
Devotees, this is a wonderful understanding of the Supreme. We should always have this, take it in our heart. He is complete. He is the Supreme. He is the pure. He is complete. So this is what you see. How many times it says that? Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avashishyade. Complete. Purnam. It's a wonderful understanding. So let's see. Srila Prabhupada mentioned this in the purport. The complete whole for the Supreme Absolute Truth is complete personality of Godhead. So Srila Prabhupada gives a beautiful understanding here. Please listen carefully this. Realization of impersonal Brahman or Paramatma the super soul is incomplete realization of the absolute complete. So the Paramatma or the impersonal Brahman is also part of the supreme whole. Supreme whole is also complete. Achindya, when it takes the Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Achindya Bheda Abheda Tattva, sometimes simultaneously different and at the same time it's same. So here we can understand that the realization, it is complete, but the realization of the impersonal Brahman or the realization of the Paramatma is the, this is not that complete. It's incomplete. Incomplete realization. Prabhupada says incomplete realization. So, but we need to understand that this is the aspect of the Supreme Lord. Brahmedi vadanti tat tat vidat tattvam yad jnanam abhyam brahmedi paramatmedi bhagavan iti shabde. It's complete, but in one sense, our realization is incomplete of that Paramatma. The realization of the impersonal Brahman is incomplete because of we cannot go beyond certain limit. That's because of our defect, because of our inclination. The Supreme Godhead is Satchidananda Vigraha. Srila Prabhupada says, realization of impersonal Brahman is realization of his Sat feature. You know that the Supreme Lord is known as Satchitananda. Sat means eternal, Chit means full of knowledge and potency, and Ananda means full of bliss. Srila Prabhupada very beautifully putting here, the realization of his Sat feature, that's what is the impersonal Brahman. And one who comes to that realization of impersonal Brahman, he is realizing only the Supreme Lord's Sat feature. That means that eternal feature. That means Lord is pervaded, he is eternal. He cannot go beyond. Or his aspect of eternity. And Paramatma realization is realization of his Sat and Chit features. So that's where the knowledge, when he focused, when a devotee or a person focused on internally or yoga, then he can realize the Paramatma. When he realizes the Paramatma, then he is actually realizing that Supreme Lord's Sat and Chit potency, but not beyond that. That's why the realization is incomplete, but the Supreme Lord is, and all his potencies are complete. So his aspects of eternity and knowledge, right? That's a Sat and Chit. So this is the Vigraha. Vigraha means forms. So then Srila Prabhupada says that, but realization of the personality of Godhead is realization of all the transcendental features, Sat, Chit, and Ananda, the bliss. See the difference? So when we realize Bhagavan, dear devotees, that is a complete realization. Because of we are coming to that complete understanding, because we are coming to the realization of that complete whole. The complete whole is Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Eternity full of knowledge and full of bliss. This is the form of the Supreme Lord. So when one realizes this full eternity, knowledge, and full of potency and bliss, then we can say that he is realizing that complete whole. The realization, right? The realization is complete now. So realizing the complete whole. When one realizes the Supreme Person, he realizes these aspects of the absolute truth in their completeness. Vigraha means form, thus the complete whole is not formless. See the difference? Now a person is just imperfect realization, just by the impersonal Brahman, that's an imperfect realization, or just the Paramatma, that is imperfect realization. But one who realizes that the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna is the full form, is a beautiful form, that means here realizing these three aspects of it, Sat, Chit, and Anand, it is coming to the whole realization. If he were formless, or if he were less than his creation in any other way, he could not be complete. So this is the total understanding one should have. So when one realizes the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna in his original personal form, that's a complete realization because of he is complete, he is whole. The complete whole must contain everything both within and beyond our experience. Otherwise, he cannot be complete. So Srila Prabhupada then further in the purport explains this. A complete whole, the personality of Godhead, has immense potency, which are as complete as he is. So this complete whole has immense potency. We cannot even imagine. Srila Prabhupada gives wonderful analogy that we are very limited. So how much weight we can carry on our head? Maybe 100 pounds, maybe 200 pounds, maybe maximum 300, maybe some 400 pounds, not beyond that. But Supreme Lord is holding this entire cosmic creations, and he is in each and every atom, and he's pervaded everywhere. Has immense potency. That's one of the opulence of the Krishna, that he has that complete strength. He has that complete strength, immense potency, and which are complete. This phenomenal world is also complete in itself because of its emanates from Krishna. So that's why sometimes we have this understanding, okay, this world is complete. Krishna says that, but this world is my external energy. So that external energy is also complete. But our realization, our understanding is not complete. So when our understanding is not complete, then we start to compare this world with many other things. So then we will not come to...
print I mean,
so then we don't come to the proper understanding. So Srila Prabhupada says that the 24 elements of which this material universe is a temporary manifestations are arranged to produce everything necessary for the maintenance and substance of this universe. We know that this world is manifested from the 24 elements, or called Mahat Tattva. Mahat Tattva means the great principles. So in the Sankhya Yoga, Srila Kapila Dev is explaining this to Mother Devahudi, the Supreme Lord himself. So the ingredients for the creation of this cosmic world is this 24 elements, that's called Mahat Tattva. So which is also produced from the Lord, necessary for this creation, and that's also complete. But when we realize, when we have imperfect knowledge, then we don't realize all this. So it says that no other unit in the universe need make an extraneous effort to try to maintain the universe. So Supreme Lord, we know that the entire cosmic creation is actually manifesting from the Mahavishnu. From the body of Mahavishnu, this entire cosmic creation comes. Just by the glance of Supreme Lord, this complete whole comes up. So that the glance of the Supreme Lord is also complete. Just by the glance of Supreme Lord, this complete whole creation is manifesting. So anything which is related to the Krishna is complete. His hands are complete. His smiles are complete. His beautiful form is complete. His lotus feet is complete. His every anga, that's why Brahmadev mentioning, Anganiyasya sakalendriya vridimanti. Anganiyasya sakalendriya vridimanti. Just by anga is also complete. There is no difference in the spiritual. The Supreme Lord is completely spiritual. Even a toenail is complete for Krishna. So nothing that we can. So that's why Om Purnada Purnama Om Purnada Purnam Adaha Purnam Om Purnadaha Purnat Purnam Udachyate. From everything comes that from the Purna is also complete. Anything that which remains as is also complete, and that whole is also complete. Sometimes we feel this may be a contradictory statement. How can, like, if takes, we have a bucket of water, and if it takes some glass of water, definitely the quantity of the water will reduce. But this is a mundane concept. This is a material concept. Here in the spiritual realm, 1 plus 1 is also 1. 1 minus 1 is also 1. And if 1 minus 10 is also complete, and 1 minus 100 is also that 1, the complete. So Krishna, that's a spiritual nature, dear devotees. That's a spiritual nature. There is an example which is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Sukadeva Goswami was mentioning, when Krishna was having this beautiful interaction with his gopis on the Purnima. They were in the dance of everybody together. They all come down to the banks of Yamuna after the Rasa dance. There were, it is mentioned that more than 670 millions of gopis. In natural sense, we can say, oh, how it is possible that 670 millions of gopis on the banks of Yamuna, just like that. So they were all sitting together and joking with Krishna. So the Acharyas mentioned, and Brahmadevi mentioned that the Goloka Vrindavan or Vrindavan is considered as a lotus. As long as Krishna needed, the lotus expands itself. The lotus wall, the lotus petals expand itself as much as they want. And also as much as it's needed to shrink itself. It's in the Brahma Samhita which is mentioned that. So like that, Krishna can be as small, but still he is complete. Krishna can be as big, still he is complete. Krishna can be in any form, still he is complete. But the problem is, when we see that, that's because of our realization, our understanding. When we are in the mundane plane, then we may think that, oh, Krishna is less than of this one, less than of that one, less than of this one. So Krishna is incomplete in all respect, in all nature. So the universe functions as its own time scale, which is fixed by the energy of the complete whole. So we know that. So that's why everything is perfect in this world. But when we look at our own materialized, we say there are defects. But everything is complete, everything is perfect in Krishna's creation. But we say because of there is some fault, because of that's our impurities that we see like that. So it is mentioned that this temporary manifestations will be annihilated by the complete arrangement of the complete world. So when we know that when the Brahma's lifespan is over, Brahma also lives for 100 years. This entire creation will go back. So it all came from Krishna. That didn't diminish any potency of Krishna. That didn't diminish any of the activities of Krishna. But when it goes back to also, then what happens? It remains same, that Supreme Lord. The devotees, this is the Vedic knowledge. This is what is we need to understand. This is the supremacy of the Krishna. This is the supremacy of the Supreme Lord. And this is where we need to clearly understand that it is different from the material nature. It's completely spiritual. Just for an example, when a water flows into the ocean and it remains same, right? As much as water comes to the ocean, which remains same, and as we can see that. But in the mundane, maybe some times, when there is earthquake and it's old, then the balance changes. But that's a mundane world. But in the spirituality, in the spiritual consciousness, the spiritual understanding, when we realize that Supreme Whole, that Krishna is complete, is Purna, then what happens? Then we can completely, relish that the supremacy of Krishna, the supremacy of the personality of Godhead. This is the way we can liberate ourselves from our material understanding to the spiritual understanding. That's why it is revealed here. Srila Prabhupada took this very importantly, that all these are very, very important to understand. So Srila Prabhupada says, all facilities are given to the small complete units, namely the living beings, to enable them to realize the complete world. So why it is given to us all this? That's this material world, as it says that the small complete unit. So we are also small complete unit. Spirit soul is also complete. But we are covered by this material nature to enable them to realize that complete whole. Right? That's why we count it qualitatively same as Krishna, but not quantitatively. So we are qualitatively tiny souls, but not quantitatively, but qualitatively we are same. That means we are complete. All forms of incompleteness are experienced due to incomplete knowledge of the complete world. So when we are in that mode of that incompleteness because of our mundane, our lack of knowledge, incomplete knowledge, then we cannot understand this. We cannot come out of it. Then Srila Prabhupada says the human forms of life is a complete manifestation of the consciousness of the living being. The human form of life is complete manifestations. So remember, the words Srila Prabhupada used very, very powerful, the complete manifestations of the human. The complete manifestation, the human form of life is a complete manifestation of the consciousness. So this we can see that we have higher consciousness, higher intelligence, so that we can understand that complete whole. And it is obtained after evolving through 8.4 million species of life in the cycle of birth and death. So the human form of life is a complete manifestation of the consciousness of the living being. So in the human form of life, we can perceive that the completeness. There's no other form we can perceive that. Only in the human form of life, we can perceive that the complete form. So Srila Prabhupada says that when a living entity does not realize his completeness in relation to the complete whole, he loses the chance to realize his completeness and is again put into the evolutionary cycle of the birth and death, laws of material nature. When we have this human form of life is a complete manifestation of the consciousness, and in that consciousness, if you don't realize and understand that the complete whole, that supreme consciousness, then we lost our life in this world, and then we again come back to the samsara chakra, the birth and death, and again and again. So dear devotees, to realize this, only way that we can come out from our incompleteness, incomplete realizations to the supreme, the complete realization, the one's complete realization to understand that supreme personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. Because we do not know that there is a complete arrangement in nature for our maintenance, we make efforts to utilize the resources of nature to create a so-called complete life of the sense enjoyment. We think that this is complete, enjoying my fulfilling the desires of my senses, and enjoyment is the complete. Because the living entity cannot enjoy the life of the senses without being dovetailed with the complete whole, the misleading life of sense enjoyment is illusion. So that's why it's called Chapala Sukha, Bhoga Tyaga. When there is a Chapala Sukha, when we have some enjoyment and immediately after some time, that became burden. Then we are looking for another enjoyment. A new enjoyment, another venue of the enjoyment. So we will keep looking for it. Why? Because of when we don't dovetail to the complete whole of everything, then everything is imperfect. And it misleads to the senses. And senses are says that senses are eagerly try to fulfill the desires of the mind. And it's as soon as it's finished, fulfills, it's look for another and another, completely misguided. So Srila Prabhupada says the hand of a body is a complete unit only as long as it is attached to the complete body. When the hand is severed from the body, it may appear like a hand, but it actually has none of the potencies of the hand. See that the difference? When the part of the body is connected to the body, then it has the potency. Otherwise, when it is severed, it says it's a hand, but it's not like that. When we utilize our body, senses, mind to that complete, then it makes that complete potency. That what complete potency? That spiritual potency we can attain. Otherwise, what? We are part of that body, but we cannot realize the real spiritual potency. So, and if they are severed from the complete world, the illusory representation of the completeness cannot fully satisfy them. So then we are under the illusion of this material world, and it cannot satisfy. Only when we connect ourselves with that supreme, with that complete, then only we also can become the complete realization. So like a branch of a tree, as long as it is connected to the tree, it gets the nourishment, it gets the food, it can say part of that tree. As soon as its branch is cut down, even if it's branch, but it does not have any quality of that, the tree, it dries up and it's immersed into the water. So like this, the completeness of human life can be realized only when one engages in the service of the complete whole. So this is the total and absolute understanding, dear devotees. all service in this world, whether social, political, communal, international, or even interplanetary, will remain incomplete until they are dovetailed with the complete whole. When everything is dovetailed with the complete whole, the attached parts and parcel also become complete in themselves. It's a very powerful statement of Srila Prabhupada. So please take it. This is the total understanding. This is the complete understanding. So that's why, this Isopanishad is so great that it gives that the complete realization, understanding how we can dovetail all our activities when in connection, relationship with the Supreme. That is called yoga. And ultimately, when one who comes to that bhakti yoga, loving devotional service to that Supreme Bhagavan, that's a complete. Otherwise, it's not that complete. It is maybe part of it or imperfect. So when one can have this complete realization, when one engages completely in loving devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then one can come to that complete realization and also become complete in themselves. Then, as it says that in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which reveals very nicely, Srila Vyasadeva put this very nicely together, the exact meaning. And it says, Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avashikshite. Like that, it reflects the same meaning in a different, beautiful way. This is what is the essence of all. And then the Srimad Bhagavatam start with this Vedanta Sutra, Janmadhyasya Yadaha. Everything manifests from that Supreme Lord. Janmadhyas Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Janmadhyasya Yadaha. Idaras Chatyas Abhijja Surad. Tene Brahma Hrudaya Adi Kavaye Muhyandiya Suryaha. Tejo Vari Mruda Yada Vinimayo Yatra Sargo Amrsha. Dhamna Svena Sada Nirastakuham Satyam Param Dhimahi. Srimad Bhagavatam is starting with this word, Janmadhyasya Yadaha. And Srimad Bhagavatam also ending with that Vedanta Sutra verse, Satyam Param Dhimahi. Satyam, the absolute truth. Param, that supreme. Dhimahi, Satyam, that you are the absolute truth. You are the absolute truth, and everything manifests from you, that your Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the translation is like this: O my Lord Sri Krishna, Son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading Personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisance unto you. I meditate upon Lord Sri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all the causes of the creation, sustenance, and destructions of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations. And he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory representatives of water seen in fire or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of nature appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Sri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representatives of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. The devotees, this is the beautiful understanding which comes through the Veda and the Upanishads. So Isopanishad reveals us this beautiful, beautiful understanding. So Srila Prabhupada put this into the introduction and the invocation, this beautiful verse of Om Purnat, Om Purnamada Purnamidam, Purnamadaha Purnamidam, that complete whole. So we have to come out from this imperfectness or imperfect realizations, imperfect understanding, and come to that complete understanding of that Supreme Bhagavan, Krishna. Then only we can complete in ourselves, in our realization, understanding, then we liberate ourselves. Otherwise, we'll be entangled in this material world, repeated birth after birth. Only way we can liberate, then when we realize that Supreme, in that completeness and in that complete realization, and that what is that complete realization? He is a Bhagavan, he is a person. That's where when Sat Chit Anand, when there is a blissfulness, when we engage in the loving devotional service, there is a reciprocation, there is a bliss, there is an ananda in reciprocation of that loving devotional service. And then this makes complete. Otherwise, it's an imperfect realization. So thank you so much, dear devotees. Let me stop here, this introduction and the invocation of this Isopanishad. And thank you so much for joining and being there and listening and understanding. So together we are understanding this transcendental knowledge. So thank you so much for being there, and let us pray together. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Isopanishad ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Any comments, any realizations you have, anything you'd like to add? Anything?
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Pranam, all Srila Prabhupada. Yes, we can hear, but it's breaking in between. But yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, Prabhuji. I'm trying to understand the Isopanishad, right? I just wanted to understand this subject of scriptures, what we are reading. So something about, like, we know Bhagavad Gita is called Gita Upanishad. It's got 700 slokas, part of Mahabharata, Krishna giving knowledge to Arjuna and all transcendental knowledge, right? And then Mahabharata, then we know about Bhagavatam, right? Parikshit Maharaj getting from Sukadev, right? And then we have Chaitanya Charitamrita, right? And I'm just trying to understand, okay, this Isopanishad, how it is, if we correlate to Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, how this is, related to this one scripture, probably. If we say Bhagavad Gita is graduation, then Srimad Bhagavatam is post, right? All this is. So where Isopanishad stands, and then Bhagavad Gita 17, 18 chapters are there, and all. How this is related to all this?
Yes. Okay. Good question. And as we all know that Srila Vedavyas compiled the Veda, and Srila Vedavyas compiled Vedanta Sutra, and also Vedavyas then, in order to make the Vedic knowledge to more understandable, right? Veda is cream. It's kind of, it's deep and ocean. So in order to give the proper understanding so that everybody can understand. So when Vedavyas compiled the Veda, then further thought of that for the common people, especially, Veda, the Vedic knowledge, in order to make them easily to understand the common people, then Srila Vyasa compiled the Vedanta Sutra. The Vedavyas is actually the author of Vedanta Sutra. Then also further thought of that, Vedanta Sutra further divided into the Puranas. Basically, the Bhagavata Purana is the essence of Vedanta Sutra. Then Srimad Mahabharata is also compiled by Srila Vyasadeva. So when Vedavyas compiled Mahabharata, so that there are less intelligent population of this world of Kali Yuga. So in the form of different pastimes of the Lord, different forms of the Lord, different incidents, that's called Idihas, Charitra. In the form of that Charitra, Vedavyas compiled the Mahabharata. In that Mahabharata, Vedavyas compiled this Vedanta Sutra or Gita-Upanishad into the Mahabharata, so that everybody gets. So in a very series of way, like in the case of Mahabharata, like Pandavas and the Kauravas, then Supreme Lord Sri Krishna comes there. And then Supreme Lord, in that the conflict of their family or conflict of this two, politics and the common man's life, this all happenings. But what is most important is, see here, then Vyasadeva included that Gita-Upanishad, that the essence of Vedanta Sutra in the Mahabharata. Similarly, Vedavyas taken that the Vedanta Sutra again and in a capsule form. That's what it is, the Upanishad. There are 108 Upanishads. This comes under, again, that imparting this knowledge in such a way that, so that everybody can understand this very, very, properly. So just for an example, Isopanishad is more revealing the supreme secret, the confidential knowledge of the Supreme Lord. So that's Isha Upanishad. There is a Upanishad called Taittiriya Upanishad. There is an Upanishad called Mundaka Upanishad. There is an Upanishad called Kathopanishad. So why it is like that? Mundaka Upanishad means, Mundaka means it's like a frog. Undaka means a frog. Taittiriya means a bird, like a parrot. Is little, kurar bird, likes that. So Vyasadeva is giving this knowledge in this forms that like a bird speaks, or so that this can be connected to each and every living entity, especially the human beings, those who can easily to realize the Supreme Lord. So everything is revealing this transcendental knowledge. And as is mentioned that Vedesya Sarva Mahameva Vedya. So Veda Vyas brought down this Veda in such a way that so that everybody in this humanity, everybody in this world can understand this. So Bhagavad Gita is part of the Gita Upanishad, and also Isopanishad is also part of, again, Vedanta Sutra. Isopanishad is also part of the Vedanta Sutra. And again, further down, that Vedanta Sutra completely translated into the glories of the Supreme, that's the ultimate of all. And that is called Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is a Veda, this part of Veda. Mahabharata is part of Veda, Vedic scripture. Again, that's why it is called Idihas, right? Idihas, Ramayana, and Mahabharata is known as Idihas. And this is called Puran, or then, Purana. Yeah, that 18 Puranas. Then that 18 Puranas are divided into 3 categories of goodness, passion, and ignorance. And for that, people, those who are in the mode of ignorance, they cannot digest this higher principle, higher tattva. So in that way, Srila Veda Vyas compiled it so that thus people can. So created in this transcendental knowledge in such a way that some way or other, they would come and contact. But they have to, again, come to that proper understanding of the absolute truth, like, come to this different, like Puranas, the Upanishads, like that, Isopanishads, like that, Kathopanishad, to understand. So Kathopanishad is giving more on the science of self-realization. And Isopanishad gives more on the Bhagavan realization. So that's a difference. So like that, understanding this material nature, and there are different, if this is the different parts of the Veda or the Vedanta Sutra. So yes, it's everything is the branches of the Veda. Even the Bhagavad Gita is a branch of Vedic knowledge. Upanishads is also a branch of this Vedic knowledge. But it's categorized in such a way that, so that like a different chapters of Veda, like just for an example, we can say one chapter speaks about Krishna, the Supreme Lord Bhagavan. One chapter speaks about the material nature. One chapter speaks about the spirit soul. One chapter speaks about how we can connect. That's why Vedas considered like only 15% is Upasana Kanda. First is actually how one can live peacefully in this world, how one can, go further, develop that consciousness from one smallest form to the highest form. So this difference. So this way, it gave us to this transcendental knowledge, so that everybody can, some way or other, can understand. And this is, the wonderful, thought of Srila Vyasadeva, that everybody can come in contact with Krishna some way or other.
Right. So how many chapters and how many shlokas, Prabhuji, for Isopanishad?
Isopanishad has around 16 verses.
16.
One chapter.
One chapter. Thank you, Prabhuji.
It's beautiful, but it's ocean of knowledge.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Anybody else would like to ask any other comments, questions? Anybody else? Any other realization?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Krishna Maharaj.
And
All gracious Lord of God.
very nice. This book, but this was the first book that came to my house from library a few years back.
Wow.
And when I started reading this, I read this book like half book in a single shot. I
Wow.
did nothing in the house. I don't know, the book caught me so well. So my question about this completeness, this Purn, the way we started.
Yeah.
So my understanding is that just the knowledge, complete knowledge, or is there anything I'm missing?
I see. Okay. It's not really knowledge. It's complete realization, complete understanding, and complete perceiveness. See, that's where we are coming to we are here, like just for an example, a fire. Fire is covered when it is covered by the smoke, or when it is covered by the ashes. Then we don't really experience that the fire inside, deep inside. So many other impurities, right? So the completeness means that we are complete. We are part of that Supreme Lord is also complete, but we don't realize and perceive that. Why? Because of our impurities. So when we can realize that and perceive that completeness as when we connect and when we realize that the Supreme Whole and engage in the loving devotional service, that is called completeness. Like just for an example, even when we are in the human form of life, so much time what we spend time to satisfy our senses, mind, this temporary nature of our life. What is the temporary aspects of our life? Our body, mind, senses are all temporary. Even intelligence is temporary. These are settled body. So, but we completely engage to satisfy our senses, mind, intelligence, and body. We don't try to satisfy our soul, or we don't engage completely in the to realize and understand that complete supreme. So here we are in a temporary world. We think that this is everything, and then we are. That's why our realization is not complete. But when you say completeness, that means he is a complete supreme whole. That's a person, Bhagavan. When we completely engage in the service of the Krishna, and that's why Krishna says that Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Rajagam Tam Parva Pavipya Mokshesh. So when one completely surrender unto Krishna, that is called completeness of themselves. So as he says that, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives an example of Sharanagati. That means 6 kinds of Sharanagati. That means understanding he is the complete, he is the supreme creator, he is the supreme protector. He is the one who maintains us and one everything comes from him. And then he is the one who takes care of me, and I should be completely do my everything in favorable of him and surrender unto him, and I should avoid anything unfavorable of him. When it comes to that, when he uses his body, when he uses his mind, when he uses his intelligence and words for the service of that supreme, that is called completeness in realization.
Very nice, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
I experienced this, but still I ask this question without knowing like the answer is this.
Yeah, that's why. See, Jnana Yogi means that they know about this knowledge and then this impersonal Brahman, everything is Lord, everything is. So Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport itself, when he is known as this is on some eternal portion of it. Yes, a knowledge can give us that, okay, he is eternal, he is there, he is like that, he is pervaded everywhere. But unless and until we engage to that Bhagavan, that Satchitanand potency and engage, we are imperfect, realize we are into the imperfectness, or we are not into that complete realization of that Supreme. So completeness means that one who realizes that Supreme Lord, surrender unto him, engage in the loving devotion service personally, and relish that and realize that and perceive that all Sat Chit Anand. When one realizes and perceives the Sat Chit Anand, that we can say that he is in complete realization. That's why in the Krishna says to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, na shojati na kamshati samaha sarva bhutana mad bhakti labhate param. Krishna says that. So in that state, we completely realize that Supreme. Then in that case, there is no lamentation for this material world. Anything happens. There is no hankering for anything. Everything is that we realize that, Lord, Supreme Lord, all my relationship, all my dealings, all my, everything is actually is only that with Krishna only. Everything else is imaginary and temporary. So when we have this understanding, then that is completeness. That creates that complete realization and understanding.
Thank you, Prabhuji. One more thing, like,
Yes.
isn't this complete realization is tough for a family person, but if there is a brahmachari or sannyasi person, feel like it's easy for them, this complete realization and to be on this path?
Actually, yes and no. I mean, if you look at all our Guru Parambara, they were all grihasthas, except few, actually. Bhakti Vinod Thakur was a grihastha. He was working as a magistrate. He had 11 children, Bhakti Vinod Thakur. But complete understanding and writing. When Bhakti Vinod Thakur every day, spend like, this is our, one way that, we have this oh, I cannot do it, I am a grihastha. So this is just an excuse of it. So I have so much obligation, I have so many things. No, all we need to tune our mind and prioritize things. Bhaktivinoda Thakur comes, get up early in the morning. This is the way it goes. As soon as Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a magistrate in the British government, so much responsibilities, comes back for 4:30 and then sleep for 4 hours and get up around that 9:30, 10 o'clock, sleep that time, then writing the books for all the way up to 3 a.m., then sleep only for 1 hour. Then Bhaktivinoda Thakur then I'd get up at 4:30 a.m., then brush and take all these things and chant the holy name. Finish all the rounds, prescribed rounds, chant the holy name, and 6:30 and looking at the correspondence and letters and replying all those things. Then again take bath after that. Then go for the worship of the deities of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Then take the breakfast and go 9 o'clock, go to the court. Then in the afternoon come and eat lunch and take some rest and go back again, 2 o'clock to 4:30 court and come back. This is the daily routine. See that? So this is the way, completely engaged, completed. So in this time, Bhaktivinoda Thakur compiled so many books. He was a grihastha. Srila Prabhupada was a grihastha, doing the same thing. And Srila Prabhupada had a business. And completely since met with Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, completely transformed in such a way that writing the translation of Bhagavad Gita in volumes of. So yes, now we are in a different time zone. Yes, it's quite difficult to manage things, but we can engage ourselves in such a way that when we take the instructions from a spiritual master, a guru, then we follow that. The guru knows that devotee, that what is the capacity of the devotee, and then perform that devotional service as per the directions of a guru. Then that's why, when we take Disha, spiritual master says, okay, you chant 16 rounds. It's not big deal of it every day if you focus to less than 2 hours. Then, follow the 4 regularities principle. That's it. This is the spiritual master essential that has such a potency. So when we perform that, when he comes to that stage of complete realization, that Bhagavan realized, that's where we develop that attachment for Krishna, right? So this can be done. So the grihastha also pretty much all in our society, pretty much 99% is grihastha, but they execute and engage beautifully that in the service of, they have such a realization. We know that how many devotees, they have direct reciprocation of the Krishna in their life. So many devotees out there. They are all not all brahmachari. Yes, brahmachari is also a stage where completely can dedicate one who is have lot of impediments in their grihastha life or in different of another stages. So they can come to a brahmachari and completely dedicate. But if one who completely can perform this in the consciousness, that's why Srila Prabhupada put this word Krishna consciousness, we can, even though we are on the grihastha platform, we can engage completely in the service of the Lord. That's why we have this very wonderful Krishna conscious society or ISKCON society in such a way that and discussing and instructing and telling that chant the holy name, you have deities at the home, cook for the lordships, and don't eat without offering, and be clean and be free from all these sinful activities, chant the holy name, associate with the devotees, come to temple, do the service, and have the conscious. So indirectly and directly, we are become conscious of Krishna. This is the perfection of it. Then that devotee has developed such a love for Krishna. So what is the question of brahmachari and grihastha?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes,
Isn't it?
brahmachari
Right.
or sannyasi. Yes, maybe later, if not from the beginning, but it's always like now.
Yeah. So it says that even it's mentioned that even grihasthas are more doing service and realization have even sannyasis and brahmacharis, because they have dedicated, because they have family obligations. The same time they are also performing devotional service. Sometimes it says that even the grihasthas are more realized than the sannyasis and brahmachari. So they put that.
Yes, because they got more experience, complicated experience.
Yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Very nice. Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare
Hari
Krishna. Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Yeah. Anything else? Anybody else? Any other realization or questions or anything you would like to add on this topic of Isopanishad? Yeah, it's very, very, very powerful, this Isopanishad. And we continue. Tomorrow will be the first two words of Isopanishad. It says, Isha Vasyamidam Sarvam, Yatkinja Jagatyam Jagat, Tena Tektena Bunjitva, Mangrada Achidanam. So beautiful understanding, and we can clearly connect ourselves. We'll have a couple more classes on this one verse, and then we'll go deeper for the understanding of what is this Isha Vasyamidam Sarva. So give us a beautiful, beautiful understanding. Beautiful understanding. Okay, so let's conclude today's session. Thank you so much. And see some messages here. Who is this? What is? Hare Krishna. That was very blissful section. Beautiful section. Strong glories. Suma Mataji, thank you so much. Nectarian section. Haribol. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining. And it helps really to change our, realizations and perceivers and understanding. And this time take us more closer to Krishna. That's what this Upanishad means. It takes us more closer to Krishna. Please join every day and take this advantage of hearing more and more about Krishna. Otherwise, we can go for so many other things. But when we have this evening time and hear from this, the authority, hear from the sources of Isopanishad, Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, really transform us, really takes us to Krishna. No doubt into that. We can also understand our constitutional position, who are we, what is our relationship with the Supreme, why we are here, and what is the ways and what is the process of getting more out of this entanglement of this, repeated birth and the cycle of this suffering, misery, and all. This is the way that this is the only real that we can understand. Everything else is kind of mundane, is just temporary flickering, and gives more suffering than the bliss, more distress all the time that we can see in this world. Okay, thank you so much. Let's conclude. Together, Vancha Kalpatarubhashya, Kripa Sindhubhyevacha, Padidanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Ki Jai.
Jai.
Viraj Srimad Isopanishad ki Jai.
Jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Jai.
Thank you.
Jai.
Hare Krishna. Another
Hare
word.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Hare
Hari
Krishna.
Bol, Prabhuji. Thank
Hari
you.
Hari Bol.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
so much, Prabhuji. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Hare Bol.